Welcome to a self-contained universe, 64 squares where minds wage an invisible war without ever lifting a physical weapon. A young boy, Arjun, watches from the edge of the park. He feels an invisible tension between the players, an energy he can't yet comprehend. To him, the board is written in a completely foreign language. The pieces are just carved wooden shapes sliding across a checkered grid without meaning. How exactly does a human brain rewire itself? How do you go from staring blankly at these static shapes to actively calculating 15 moves deep into the future? The journey to an elite 2500 Grandmaster rating starts with raw curiosity, but reaching that summit requires a systematic deconstruction and rebuilding of the human mind. Anyone can learn how a knight moves in an afternoon. Understanding exactly why to move it takes years. The early days of play are filled with clumsy, blind decisions and constant frustration. This diagram illustrates the brain's first cognitive leap, pattern recognition. By studying tactics, the mind begins to see geometric traps, like this fork attacking two targets simultaneously. The board shifts to show a pin. Mastering these concepts builds the game's foundational vocabulary, but tactical puzzles only take you so far. To progress, a player must absorb centuries of past knowledge. You study the history of the game so you don't waste decades reinventing the wheel. You dissect the sheer, overwhelming calculation and raw aggression of Garry Kasparov. Then you contrast that fiery aggression with the clinical, unrelenting, mathematically perfect precision of Bobby Fischer. True progression does not come from simply playing endless games. It requires pulling the proven genius of historical masters directly into your own memory banks. Eventually, all that theoretical study collides with reality. Walking into your first live tournament brings a jarring sensory shock. Sitting in a quiet room solving puzzles is neurologically entirely different from sitting 3 feet away from a hostile opponent who is actively trying to destroy your position. The body reacts to the threat. Tunnel vision sets in. Adrenaline spikes in the bloodstream, and the oppressive, mechanical ticking of the clock forces every calculation into a state of panic. Under that physiological stress, the brain falters, a hand trembles, a piece is placed on the wrong square, and an unforced error leads to immediate defeat. This early, devastating loss acts as a brutal filter. It destroys the motivation of casual players. But for those determined to advance, it provides the exact raw data needed to forge a master. The only way forward is to weaponize that failure. The daily routine tightens into a strict, relentless schedule of conscious analysis. Elite practice demands isolating specific late-game scenarios. You drill the same endgame positions over and over until they transition from conscious, labored thought into pure muscle memory. You begin integrating modern philosophies. You analyze the quiet, suffocating positional strategy of Anatoly Karpov. It shows the slow accumulation of microscopic, almost invisible gains over 30 moves. Those tiny, quiet advantages compound move by move, gradually paralyzing the opponent until they turn into certain victory. You pair that slow positional squeeze with the psychological calm and objective, machine-like accuracy of Magnus Carlsen. After thousands of hours of this intense integration, the board was no longer confusing. It became clear. Mastery is a mechanical, blue-collar process. You achieve it by eliminating errors through relentless, disciplined repetition, not through a sudden flash of innate genius. Years later, the tournament environment feels identical, but the internal logic of the player's brain has been rebuilt. Facing a grandmaster, the tension remains suffocating, as a single miscalculation equals instant elimination. But internally, there is no panic. There is only the rapid, crystal-clear calculation of intersecting lines of attack. A multi-layered sequence is executed. The final piece slides into position. Checkmate. The numerical reflection of that sharpened cognitive state is a 2500 rating. That mind was built through strict discipline, historical learning, and an absolute refusal to yield to failure. Mastery is a replicable path, accessible to anyone willing to execute the work.